Some SUVs earn their reputation the hard way. They survive hundreds of thousands of miles, become family workhorses, and eventually convince an entire generation of buyers that the badge on the grille means reliability. But here's the uncomfortable part. A good reputation can outlive a good vehicle. Some SUVs that Americans automatically associate with reliability have had model years with serious problems, and some vehicles people overlook have quietly built much better records. So we went looking past the badges, past the advertisements, and past the showroom promises. We looked at reliability data, owner-reported problems, recalls, known trouble areas, and the issues that can turn an apparently good SUV into a very expensive driveway ornament. These are 10 SUVs we'd think twice about buying, followed by 4 that actually give us a reason to feel good about signing the paperwork. And the first SUV on this list isn't here because it's unpopular. It's here because it's popular. Number 10. Jeep Grand Cherokee. Let's get something straight first. The Grand Cherokee isn't a bad SUV in every respect. In fact, that's exactly why this one belongs on the list. It's comfortable. It has a premium-looking interior. It's capable off-road. And the current generation has plenty of refinement. Consumer Reports itself describes the Grand Cherokee's cabin and driving experience positively. But then comes the sentence buyers don't necessarily want to hear. The Jeep brand's historically below-average reliability should give shoppers pause. And that's not just an old reputation. Consumer Reports currently expects the 2026 Grand Cherokee to be less reliable than the average new car, based on data from the 2023, 2024, and 2025 models. The 2026 model has also been subject to 2 recalls. And if you're thinking about the 4xe plug-in hybrid, the warning gets considerably more serious. A recall covering 2022-2026 Grand Cherokee 4xe vehicles involved a software problem that could cause loss of drive power while driving. Nearly 92,000 vehicles were involved in that recall. That's the distinction we're making here. We're not saying, never touch a Grand Cherokee. We're saying, don't let the Jeep badge make the decision for you. Because a vehicle can look expensive, feel expensive, and still demand more caution than the badge suggests. And the next SUV has an even bigger problem. It's not just about reliability. It's about what happens when manufacturers introduce an entirely new vehicle architecture before they've had enough time to work the bugs out. Number 9. Honda Prologue. Now this one is going to upset some people. Because if you say Honda, most people immediately think reliable. And that's exactly what makes the Prologue interesting. The Honda Prologue is not a terrible vehicle. Consumer Reports gives it credit for a smooth, quiet powertrain and a fairly long driving range. It also comes with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, unlike its platform sibling, the Chevrolet Blazer EV. So why is it here? Because Honda's reputation and the Prologue's reliability prediction are 2 different things. Consumer Reports expects the 2026 Prologue to be less reliable than the average new car, based on its 2024 and 2025 data. And there's an important reason. The Prologue wasn't developed entirely in the traditional Honda way. Honda partnered with General Motors, and the Prologue shares its underlying platform with the Chevrolet Blazer EV. That's significant because Consumer Reports says the Blazer EV and other vehicles using GM's new electric architecture have experienced reliability problems, while the Prologue itself has also landed below average for reliability, despite Honda's strong overall brand reputation. This is one of the most important lessons in modern car buying. A reliable brand does not automatically make every new vehicle reliable. And when a model is built on a new platform, using new technology, with a new powertrain architecture, you don't get the benefit of decades of proven history. You're buying into the experiment, and sometimes the experiment works. Sometimes you're the one paying to discover where it didn't. But if you think an electric SUV is automatically the problem here, wait until you see what's next. Because this next vehicle comes from a company people associate with driving excitement and engineering. And Consumer Reports has put it among the least reliable vehicles in its latest survey. Number 8. Kia EV9. The EV9 looks like the future. 3 rows, huge cabin, bold styling, electric power, and a road presence that makes ordinary SUVs look almost boring. That's the appeal. But the technology underneath is also exactly where some of the risk appears. Consumer Reports gives the 2026 Kia EV9 a below-average predicted reliability rating, and the bigger picture matters. J.D. Power's 2026 dependability study found that battery electric vehicles experienced 237 problems per 100 vehicles, while gas-powered vehicles averaged 198. Plug-in hybrids were even higher at 281 problems per 100 vehicles. That does not mean electric vehicles are bad. It means something much more interesting. The more technology you put into a vehicle, the more ways there are for that technology to go wrong. And the EV9 is packed with technology. That doesn't make it a bad SUV, but if your priority is boring, predictable, low-drama ownership, that's something you need to consider. Because the smartest car purchase isn't always the most impressive one sitting under the showroom lights. And we're about to move from an electric SUV to a conventional SUV that has had its own set of problems. Number 7. Mazda CX-90. This one hurts. Because Mazda has spent years building a reputation as the driver's alternative. Fun to drive, beautiful interiors, more premium than the price suggests. And historically, Mazda has often been associated with solid reliability. But the CX-90 represents something different. It's a new architecture, new engine, and new transmission, introduced for the 2024 model year. And Consumer Reports says that's showing up in the reliability data. The 2026 CX-90 is predicted to be less reliable than the average new car, based on 2024 and 2025 data. And Consumer Reports specifically notes that the new CX-90 and CX-70 were ground-up new designs, including the engine and transmission, and that those changes have hurt Mazda's reliability position. This is why I don't want you to remember Mazda CX-90 bad. That's too simple. Remember this instead. First-generation complexity deserves caution. A manufacturer can make an excellent vehicle and still have problems when it introduces an entirely new platform. And if you're buying new, you don't necessarily want to be the person who discovers the first 5 things the engineers missed, which brings us to an even more complicated version of the same SUV. Number 6. Mazda CX-90 plug-in hybrid. Same family. More technology, more complexity, and unfortunately, an even worse reliability prediction. Consumer Reports gives the 2026 CX-90 plug-in hybrid a much less reliable than average prediction based on 2024 and 2025 models. And the reason is not difficult to understand. You're combining a new SUV platform with a gas engine, electric motor, battery system, charging system, and hybrid controls. That's a lot of moving parts. And Consumer Reports specifically identifies reliability issues affecting both the conventional and plug-in hybrid versions of the CX-70 and CX-90. This is where more advanced can become a dangerous phrase in car shopping. More advanced doesn't automatically mean more reliable. Sometimes it means more systems that have to work perfectly together. And that's why we're not going to tell you to avoid every hybrid. We're going to tell you to pay attention to how new the technology is, how much evidence exists, and whether the vehicle has had time to prove itself. Because the next SUV takes that problem and pushes it into a completely different direction. Number 5. Kia EV6. The EV6 is one of those SUVs that looks like it should be on the opposite list. It's stylish, it's quick, it's modern. It has a distinctive design that doesn't look like every other crossover on the road. And Consumer Reports testing has found plenty to like about the vehicle. But reliability is where the story changes. The 2026 EV6 appears on Consumer Reports' list of the 10 least reliable vehicles based on its latest owner data, with a reliability score of 25. And again, this isn't an argument against EVs. It's an argument against assuming that an impressive new vehicle has already proven itself. The EV6 is a relatively sophisticated machine, and when you're paying a premium for technology, you don't just want the technology to work. You want it to keep working. Because once your warranty expires, cutting edge can become a very expensive phrase. And we're not done, because the next SUV comes from a brand that has one of the most loyal followings in America. Number 4. Chevrolet Blazer EV. This one is almost a perfect example of why we said at the beginning, the badge doesn't always tell the full story. The Blazer name means something. Chevrolet has used it for decades. And the new Blazer EV looks aggressive, modern, and expensive. On paper, it has plenty going for it. Consumer Reports road test found smooth and linear power delivery, and the vehicle offers roughly 280 miles of range depending on configuration. But then the problems begin to pile up. Consumer Reports predicts the 2026 Blazer EV will be much less reliable than the average new car, based on 2024 and 2025 data. And it's not just reliability. Consumer Reports road test criticized the ride, steering, braking performance, and seat support. And then there's the software. GM removed Apple CarPlay and Android Auto from the Blazer EV in favor of its own software approach, something Consumer Reports identifies as a potential deal breaker for some buyers. This is the problem with chasing the future too quickly. A vehicle can be technologically ambitious and still leave the owner asking, why did I buy version 1? And now we're entering the top 3. This is where the list gets uncomfortable, because the next SUV isn't just a new EV with teething problems. It's an SUV whose reliability problems have become impossible to ignore in the latest data. Number 3. Genesis GV60. The GV60 is beautiful. There. We said something nice. Because this is important. If we're going to criticize vehicles honestly, we have to admit when they're good at something. The GV60 is stylish, luxurious, and technologically ambitious. But luxury doesn't protect a vehicle from reliability problems. Consumer Reports puts the 2026 Genesis GV60 among its least reliable vehicles, with a reliability score of 21. And this is part of a broader Genesis problem. Consumer Reports says Genesis ranked 21st in its 2026 brand reliability rankings and had no model with average or better predicted reliability in that year's analysis. That's not what buyers expect when they're paying luxury money. Because the luxury equation is simple. You're not just paying for transportation. You're paying for the expectation that the entire experience will be better. If the vehicle spends too much time being diagnosed, updated, repaired, or sitting at the dealer, that luxury experience starts looking very different. And now we're down to 2. One is a premium electric SUV. The other is a vehicle from a brand people expect to be dependable because of what came before it. Number 2. Kia EV9. No. The real problem is the GMC Acadia. Here's where things get interesting. The GMC Acadia doesn't have the futuristic appeal of the EV9. It isn't trying to reinvent the SUV. It's a familiar 3-row vehicle from a familiar American brand. And yet Consumer Reports gives the 2026 Acadia a reliability prediction of much less reliable than average. It also sits at the bottom of Consumer Reports' latest 10 least reliable vehicles, with a reliability score of 14. That's not a tiny warning. That's a giant one. And the timing makes it even more interesting. The Acadia was redesigned for the 2025 model year, and Consumer Reports specifically warns buyers that newly introduced or redesigned vehicles tend to have more reliability problems in their first model year. The organization also says the Acadia's reliability score is well below average. So here's the lesson. Sometimes the safest-looking purchase is the one that deserves the most patience. The Acadia doesn't have to be a terrible SUV forever. It doesn't even have to remain unreliable. But if you're buying today and reliability is your priority, why volunteer to be an early adopter? Wait. Let other owners discover the bugs. Let the manufacturer fix them. Let the reliability history develop. Because your money doesn't need to be the testing budget. And now we reach number 1. And this one is going to make some people very uncomfortable, because it comes from a company with an enormous reputation. Number 1. Chrysler Pacifica Hybrid. Before anyone says it, yes. It's technically a minivan, but it's frequently cross-shopped against 3-row SUVs, and Consumer Reports includes it in its SUV-adjacent family hauler reliability comparisons. And its numbers are difficult to ignore. Consumer Reports gives the Pacifica Hybrid a reliability score of 26, placing it among the 10 least reliable vehicles in its latest analysis. And there's something psychologically interesting here. People buy vehicles like this because they want practicality. They want space. They want family transportation. They want something that can carry everyone without drama. But reliability is exactly what family buyers should care about most. Because when the vehicle you're relying on to get children to school, take the family on vacation and handle everyday life, start spending more time in the shop, the inconvenience isn't theoretical. It becomes your schedule, your money, your time, your problem. And that's why the number one spot isn't about saying the Pacifica hybrid is worthless. It's about saying, don't confuse usefulness with dependability. Those are different things. And that distinction is going to become even more important in the second half of this video, because we've just spent several minutes telling you what to be careful with. Now comes the part you actually wanted. What should you buy instead? We could end this video right here. Tell you 10 SUVs to avoid, make everybody angry, move on. But that would be lazy, because if we tell you what not to buy, we have a responsibility to tell you what deserves a closer look. And this is where the data gets surprisingly interesting. Because while some manufacturers are struggling with new technology, redesigns, and software, other vehicles are quietly doing something much less exciting. They're working. So let's flip the list. Number 4, Subaru Forester. The Forester isn't trying to impress you with a giant screen or a ridiculous amount of horsepower. And maybe that's exactly the point. J.D. Power's 2026 Vehicle Dependability Study ranks the Subaru Forester among the top 3 in its compact SUV category. Consumer Reports also consistently places Subaru among the stronger reliability brands, and its latest data continues to treat the Forester as one of the more dependable options. It's practical, it's easy to live with, and it doesn't require you to believe that more technology automatically means a better vehicle. That's an important contrast, because the SUVs we just discussed were often chasing something new. The Forester's appeal is that it doesn't need to. It's the automotive equivalent of the person who doesn't need to announce how successful they are. They just show up, and keep showing up. But our number 3 is even more interesting, because this next vehicle comes from a brand people love to criticize. Number 3, Chevrolet Equinox. Chevrolet is not exactly the first name that comes to mind when people start talking about bulletproof reliability. And that's precisely why this is an interesting one. The 2026 J.D. Power Dependability Study ranks the Chevrolet Equinox as the highest-ranked compact SUV in its segment. Now, here's the important caveat. Consumer Reports has a much less favorable view of the redesigned Equinox's predicted reliability. In its 2026 brand analysis, CR specifically identified the Equinox as having a well below average reliability score. So why include it? Because this is exactly the kind of contradiction our channel should expose. 2 reputable data sources can tell you different things. And instead of hiding that because it makes the story less dramatic, we tell you. That's consumer protection. The lesson isn't, Equinox good. The lesson is, don't let one ranking make the decision for you. And that's why our next picks are especially compelling, because the evidence becomes much more consistent. Number 2, Lexus GX. This is where luxury and dependability finally meet. The Lexus GX has the badge. It has the price. It has the premium interior. It has the capability. But unlike some luxury SUVs, it also has a serious dependability record. J.D. Power ranked the Lexus GX highest among midsize premium SUVs in its 2026 dependability study, and Lexus ranked highest overall among premium brands for the 4th consecutive year. This is what we mean when we say a vehicle should earn its reputation. The GX isn't automatically good because it's a Lexus. The evidence is what makes the reputation meaningful. And that's the standard we want this channel to follow. Not, everyone says it's reliable. True. But here's why the data gives us a reason to believe it. And that brings us to number 1. The SUV that gives us perhaps the cleanest example of what we're looking for. Recognizable, practical, proven, and backed by dependability data. Number 1. Toyota 4Runner. The 4Runner has one of the strongest identities in the SUV market. People don't buy it because they think it's fashionable. They buy it because they want something they believe will keep going. And the interesting part is that the reputation isn't completely unsupported. J.D. Power's 2026 Vehicle Dependability Study ranks the Toyota 4Runner among the top performers in its upper midsize SUV category. Toyota also received 8 model-level awards in the 2026 study, including the 4Runner, and ranked near the top of Consumer Reports' overall reliability picture. But here's the part I want you to remember. The 4Runner isn't number one because it's Toyota. It's number one because the evidence gives the reputation something to stand on. That's the difference. A badge is a promise. Reliability data is the receipt. And if you're spending tens of thousands of dollars on an SUV, you want the receipt.